Welcome back to Realistic Happiness, where we explore the science, psychology, and sometimes even the mystical side of happiness. And today's guest is here to challenge what we think we know about intuition, energy, and the unseen world. Tammi is a professional psychic medium who went from working in well-being and tech to unlocking a whole new dimension of human connection. She demystifies the difference between psychics and mediums, explains how energy is always around us, and shares her own journey, one that started with an unexpected visit from her late father. But this isn't about crystal balls or fortune telling. Tammi combines spirituality with science, working alongside neuroscientists to bridge the gap between intuition and evidence. Whether you're skeptical or curious, this episode will make you rethink what's possible. Can we all tap into our intuition? What's the real power behind trusting your gut? And do our loved ones ever really leave us? Let's find out. This is Realistic Happiness, and here's my conversation with Tammi. A big thank you to Avery for sponsoring this episode. Tammi, very nice to host you at Realistic Happiness Podcast.
Oh, so lovely to finally meet you. This is the thing I love about the internet, meeting strangers and connecting on things that we're interested in together. So thank you for having me.
It's really, really wonderful. And I would like to ask you, so if I'm tapping into this episode, I'm watching and I'm learning about mediums and psychics, what can you teach the listeners today?
I hope today will make it apparent that we can demystify the mystical things that we don't know about. We can simplify the unseen world, and we can encourage people to learn about their own energy fields, what that means for them, and also just understand that this is available to everyone, and just simplify it and make it easy to understand for everyone.
It sounds really attractive that it's available for anyone could tap into it. So what is the difference between a psychic and a medium? Because I also was really confused. I didn't know there was like two different terms.
Yeah, of course. So a psychic is someone that is tapping into another person's aura or energy field, or scientists would call it the biofield. What they're doing, they are trained to connect energetically to that person. They almost read this energetical data, which is inside this arc cloud around you, and translate that with inside themselves. They can see images, they can hear words, they can have feelings, that sort of thing. A medium is someone that connects to the afterlife. They are a middle person. They are able to more to the higher realms, we say it like that. They'll take their awareness upwards, and they're able to connect to past of a loved ones and bring through evidence that can be validated for the other person. Or we call them a sitter, someone else that is there, come to speak to someone in the afterlife.
So it sounds like it's both of these things, they're around us. Like they're just here, right? Because like the energy, but also to tap into people who have passed on in life. Like, yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Like is it something that you can tap into all the time, or is it something that you can like switch off, let it come to you whenever you want?
So for the psychics, energy is always around. Everyone has got this ability to perceive energy. Think of it this way. So you walk into a room and you just take one look at someone, and you can see that they're either having a bad day or something, maybe they're feeling fearful or something. That's your energy body at work. You're tapping into that energy. So that is always at play. Can psychics use that? Probably yes. Is it ethical to be going around and looking into everyone's auric field and checking out information? Probably not. But that's probably always available to you. Mediums, for me personally, I have to get myself into an altered state. I have to do a meditation. I have to get ready to work in that way. It takes a lot of energy to get yourself into that state. But that is what I mean about the unseen world. Energy is always around us. So that's the unseen world. We can always tap into that. And I personally believe, through all the readings that I've done, that our loved ones that have passed on are with us all the time. They're part of our lives. I mean, I've done some readings where they've commented on stuff where they weren't around. So how did they know that sort of thing? So yes, I believe they are always with us. They don't miss out on our big milestones in our lives. And so, yeah.
I think as like a person who's experienced very strange things, and I really felt like, probably sounds really weird, but it's really, really true. I want this to be an honest conversation where things just aligned very strangely, or it didn't make logical sense, or it was like a nostalgic thing I saw of my stepdad who passed away a few years ago.
Mhm.
And things just kind of, it feels like someone's guiding you, like a guardian angel or something, or like an entity. And it's a kind of embarrassing, like just as like a person kind of experiencing it. I feel like if I ever told a friend or like my mom or something like this, they just think like she's losing it. Like
Yeah.
what is wrong? But it's actually like, yeah, it feels really exciting. It feels like you're going through a change or like something really, really exciting in your life, like a new path. And you want to kind of get other people involved. But how how has your experience been with this then? Because of course, like it must have been really crazy to understand that like you have these abilities. And
Mhm.
so what was the origin story of Tammi?
So yeah, and that's I'm sorry, just going back, you've mentioned that like coming out of the spiritual closet that I've had to do, or just having these experiences, we have these fears that people are going to judge us, or they're not going to understand how deep and meaningful it was for us at that time in our lives. But I can promise you this now, when you start when you start being okay with it and maybe reaching out, there's two of us sitting across the table now speaking about these things. Whenever I used to be so fearful to say to people, oh, well, I'm a medium. And now every time I do it, they're like, oh my word, this really happened to me. And this is it. And then they like tell me about like a mystical experience that they've had. So I think it is so much more common than we actually know. But going back to my story, so the origin, I've always been into positive psychology and working on yourself. So start with the pillars: physical, mental, emotional, and the last pillar that was left was spiritual. So I started meditating, I started tapping into energy, started learning about these things. And how the mediumship started, it was actually my father that came through for the first time. He had passed about 3 years earlier. And I was sitting in meditation one evening and he just popped into my meditation. And I was like, my goodness. And I could feel his sorrow and pain. I lost my dad to suicide. So, and yeah, we didn't have he didn't have a very easy life, and he was a very angry man. He had a lot of work to do on himself. But in that meditation, he showed up, and it was almost like he had this apologetic energy. And after I came out of the meditation, my logical mind kicked in. I was like, did I just make that up? Of course, it would be lovely to have my dad apologize and tell me that he's okay and he's sorry and all these things. So I left it and I carried on and I carried on meditating. And then it must have been 3 weeks later, he popped in again and he let me know that he was worried about my mother. And 3 days later, 4 days later, my mom was rushed into ICU. So what my dad did there was he gave me evidence. And the mediumship that I practice is called mental evidential mediumship. Mental, because it's happening inside of me. Everything I'm seeing is happening inside of me. It's not like I'm seeing my dad standing over there. Evidential is because I need evidence that I can validate. And that's what he gave me. He gave me a premonition or a warning about my mom. So that's how it started. And then I just started practicing with it, connecting with people that I knew that had passed over loved ones that I would love to hear from. And now I'm professionally studying it at a college in London so that I can understand it better and deliver a professional service.
Wow, and it shows volumes as well that the college and like also universities and scientists are really tapping into this, studying this,
Mhm.
testing this, because yeah, life is complex. I believe you that we are energetically kind of present as well as a physical body, like you said, when you walk
Mm.
into a room and you can just see that person and you're kind of like, but we also want to avoid that person, don't we? When it's like a person that's kind of like having a shit day and they're just kind of there at the bar like this. But also then you're drawn, if you're very open-minded, you're drawn to like the energetic people that are kind of on your path as well
Mm.
and kind of open to new experiences and stuff. But sorry about your father, of course, that's a horrendous thing you went through. And how, of course, when you got that experience, so he popped into your vision as your eyes were closed, right? So
Mm.
this is how you see
Yes,
people come in.
that is called clairvoyance.
Clairvoyance. Okay.
Yes, because you're seeing a clear sight. And very often when psychics, you'll see when they're working, for me particularly, I will turn to the side and it's like a screen. Even I can do it with my eyes happen, a screen will drop down and you'll see images on that screen, or not a screen. It's just, imagine when you're reading a book, you see those images in your mind.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's what it's like to have clairvoyance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's that inner seeing.
So clairvoyance is a French word, right?
Yes, I think clair means clear.
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 And then there's different types, right, of clairvoyance. Because I've only found out about clairvoyance.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this is so funny, I thought it was a woman called Claire who came up with the concept. And I never knew what it meant, but it sounds really, really exciting.
So yeah, that's the main one that everyone always thinks about. They think a psychic is, you know, seeing things all the time, but clairvoyance is a strong sense, but the strongest sense for me is probably clairsentience, which means a feeling. So when I go into a reading, I'll sit there and I can almost sense if it's a male or a female, if they're young. You can feel into the energy. So that's how you'll start. And then you'll clairaudient, which means you'll hear, but you're not hearing my father's voice outside of me. You hear it inside yourself, and very often it's in your own voice. So that's when those sharp sentences will drop in, or a word will drop in. And so yeah, that's clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance. Those are the main three ones that you work with, but there's a few more, like smelling and tasting and all those. So it's your senses going that you're using really in your work, your energy work.
Wow. And how old were you when you realized that this is what was happening?
So it was actually very, very recent. So I would say about 2021, but I know that I'd always had a very strong intuition, a very strong sense of self, a very strong inner knowing almost, you know. So I just see intuition. We all have intuition. Intuition is, like I say, this deep inner knowing. And what psychics have done is they've just taken that intuition, like almost like put steroids on it. You know what I mean? Intuition you use for yourself, psychic senses you use for other people. So yeah.
I feel like the interest in this is becoming even more popular, right? Because when you think of a psychic, you think of someone at a fair dressed in like jewels and like a nose ring, and they have like a crystal ball. Yes. And like a crystal ball, and then kind of saying the obvious. But
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of my friends are going to mediums and psychics as well, and getting like tarots and stuff, and like the accuracy of like their futures. So not telling like what's happening now, like what's gonna happen, and the predictability is crazy. I'm not sure if that's the same thing or if it's a gimmick, like looking into the future, because you're looking into someone who's passed away and who's kind of able to communicate with you.
I think some people can. So when we think about that person sitting at the fair with the crystal ball and the jewels and stuff, that's more of a fortune teller. People have just
fortune teller.
People have gotten those. They now think a psychic as a fortune teller. For me, a psychic is someone that is able to tap into energy. That's all it is, and we all have psychic abilities. And it's just the variance of how strong those abilities, how much work you're going to put into them, and how much you're going to use them. The predictability of the future. I try and stay away from predictions actually when I'm doing readings, because there is far too many sliding door moments in your life. You know what I mean? The future is always changing. Every thought, every emotion, every action that you take it's like multiple paths. You know, it's like a general blueprint I think you come with, but you've got to make those choices. You've got to take those steps. You've got to follow that intuition that you are sensing. So yeah, but I do believe some people can really, really tap into that future, because I was actually at a fair, and that's how I started working with like my psychic senses, learning how to read cards. And I sat down in front of this gentleman that looked like a Viking, and he said to me, "So what do you do?" So I said, "Oh, I work in well-being and tech." And he's like, No. What do you do for spirit?" And I was like, I think I'm learning, like I'm reading cards and stuff. He's like, "Okay, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be a medium." I did not even know what a medium was at that time. I thought he was drinking some moon juice. So I do believe some people can have a strong ability to tap into the future. But for me, I try and stay away from predictions as such.
Wow. And the blueprint thing is so right, because you can really take decisions, make or break, even like, should I have a coffee this morning? Or it can be as severe as, do I divorce my wife or make this work? You know, like there's so many decisions, paths you take in life. And like you said, we all have psychic abilities. And I think something the fear that we have is like, can we trust our intuition? Because yeah, are we wise enough? That's the
Mhm.
real question, right? And that's something that terrifies me, but I sometimes let go of control and I don't know, it's like this neutral voice in my head,
Mhm.
authoritative voice. Again, I sound a bit
Boss
woo-woo,
lady.
but it's true. Like I had this kind of I had this not crisis, but like I went back to Italy where I'm from because I
Mhm.
was like, I need to nurture my soul. I need to like rediscover like my history, where I'm from, where my parents are from, right? Where everyone lives in my family. So I kind of like tapped into that inner child and like nostalgia. And I was like, I'm going to just do everything I was doing as a child, but also like going to the beach and like just reconnecting. And and I was also working there essentially for a month. And I just basically, it was just this crazy moment where my phone wasn't working. I don't know, was this my guardian angel? Like, no Wi Fi. Like, I felt sick as well because of my air conditioning. It wasn't cleaned out. So
Mhm.
I kind of had a flu. It was 40 degrees, it was boiling. So I had this crisis. I was like, I can't talk to anyone. I'm like forced to be with myself and my thoughts. And I was like, why am I so, like, I have a really good job. They let me work remote. I'm back in my hometown. Why am I miserable? And then I was really like, fuck's sake, like, what more do I need? I'm so greedy. And then this like authoritative voice came in. I was just like thinking, and it said, like, you need to, like, you've done recruitment and stuff. Now you need to talk about happiness. And I just was there. Like, can you imagine getting this thought? And I was like, that's so stupid. I was like, that's ridiculous. What happiness? I was like, why? And then I thought, yeah, because I thought if I got this 6-figure job and I could travel and I could see my family, I would be happy, but I'm not.
Mm.
So I went in the spiral, and now this is where the podcast got rebranded to Realistic Happiness. And that's how
That's
we've met. We've aligned.
fascinating.
So this is kind of where that neutral voice came in. And I was like, maybe they're right. Well, it's me, right? It's not they. It's maybe I'm right. So I've
Mhm.
kind of been following that voice, and it's just like a snowball. Like things are just spiraling, but in a good
Good
way.
way.
But it's scary because it's not logical. So
Mhm.
how can we tap into our psychic abilities like this?
Yeah, I think the first you've said it so beautifully there. I mean, you've illustrated exactly what I'm going to say now. Before you go to the psychic abilities, let's get to the intuition. Your intuition is not found in your logical mind. That is found in the deep feeling, letting go of all the shoulds and what the logical step is and the rational way thing. So the first step is to work with your own intuition, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So that's you mentioned that snowballing effect. So that's the first thing to do. So really tap into yourself, get comfortable with yourself, your present moment, how you're feeling, and what you would like to experience in life, that sort of thing. So that is the first step. Always develop this deep relationship with yourself.
And how do you
Switch
do
off
that?
the noise from other people, not what your parents want, not what society says you need to want. What's going to make you feel fulfilled, happy, healthy, lit up? Something that, there's the passion inside of all of us. We just need to find those sort of things. It's a little bit of healing as well, like you mentioned, the inner child, because we've had all this conditioning from the world to say that we need that 6-figure job. We need to do this, we need to do that, and that's going to make us happy. When we get to that ladder, when we climb that society planned way of life. But maybe that's not the way. Maybe you are supposed to have a podcast. Maybe that is your passion. Maybe I'm supposed to help people connect to the unseen world. Maybe that's going to make me happy. So yeah, that's your intuition. The first thing is connecting with yourself and following your intuition. And the more you do it, the stronger it will get. And then there's no more listening to outside influences. There is tapping into this wise resource part of you. I like to call it the higher soul self. That is that voice that you are hearing. And that will be the ultimate guide. It's like it will set this GPS or compass inside of you that has got your exact directions in life. And then you won't need anything else. Yeah.
What if I'm feeling really overwhelmed? I
Mm-hmm.
have this friend
Yeah.
who everything kind of goes wrong for her. She ties her self-worth to like jobs and job applications and money and etc. And things aren't just working out for her because she's clearly tying her value to external things. But she feels really lost. Even when I try and give her advice or a podcast to listen to or something, she's like, no, I know better, kind of thing. So what if your mindset is really stubborn and you're like, no, I'm not wise. I'm just, yeah, I'm not able
Mm.
to do this. Like, how can I then penetrate that?
That is a difficult one because you can't make anyone do something that they don't want to do. You know what I mean? They've got to get to that step by themselves, and it's not a nice thing to say, but sometimes rock bottom is the best place to start because that's that zone where you've got nothing less. So you're gonna have to make some changes. So yeah, that is a difficult one. But then I would definitely, that's in subconscious like programming. What is your beliefs around it? Like, do you think that's only if you are earning this amount of money that you're worthy of things? So then it's definitely your belief system as well, because beliefs govern everything in our lives. If we believe we are stupid, or if we believe that we're not worthy of anything, we're going to set that, we're going to project that into our future. Our beliefs, just know that beliefs govern everything of our lives. Our lives are happening because of those belief systems that we hold, and sometimes they are subconscious. Sometimes you're not walking around understanding, oh, okay, that time that person told me that I was stupid in class, that is, I've made it a story, and now I really believe that, and now I manifest everything into that because of that story. It takes a lot of inner work, a lot of wisdom, a lot of courage to go back into that. I think of it like a coding back end of like an app. You have to go back into the back end and quickly do a recode there, and then come back to your adult life. So yeah, but it's doable. Everyone can do it. So
And what are the ways we can tap into it? Because you mentioned there's a lot of noise, what your parents think you should do, what society thinks you should do. How do I just stay here in this
yeah,
bubble?
good question. Self-awareness work, man. So yeah, I do. For me, what's really, really helped is journaling, just letting it all out, getting to know myself, how I think, looking for patterns, meditation, therapy. I mean, I love therapy, coaching, whatever, just a way that you can get to know yourself and without influences. So that's what I would encourage anyone to do.
Are there any psychic abilities that we don't know about, but we kind of consciously do?
That's a good question. I don't know if there are any psychic abilities that we're not conscious. I just think that everyone's having a lot more psychic experiences that they're not putting down to psychic experience. I'll give you an example. Like, I've very often had a dream that my friend is standing in a classroom, and then I'll message her the next day and I'll say to her, I had a dream that you're in the classroom. And she's like, she left teaching like 10 years ago. And she's like, well, now tomorrow I'm going to teach teachers. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's those sort of things. Or you'll think about someone, um, and then you don't message them. But if you had messaged them, they'll probably tell you something that you intuitively felt is correct. So I think people are having psychic hits all the time, and they're not even realizing it. So yeah.
When you think about someone and they call you or text you, it is the most bizarre. And that's something as well I don't admit to, but it happens so often. I'll just think about someone, I'm like, I really want to talk to them, but yeah, they're busy or something. And then they
Mm.
message you or voice note you, and you're like, that's fucking creepy. Creepy, but nice, because I'm
Yeah.
happy about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. It's the energy. I think especially when we have emotional connections to people, I think it's like been proved through like quantum entanglement or something now. Once our atoms, our energy fields have interacted with people, we've got that emotional connection. It's even easier for us to read and pick up on each other's things. Like, I know I felt my stomach pain before. I have thought about an ex, and the next day I've reached out and he's like, was looking at photos of me yesterday, or like
Whoa.
crazy things like that. Or I'm walking and I've seen a friend starting meditating. I was like, have you started that meditation? And she's like, yes, I've literally just finished doing it. So it's those sort of things. Yeah, it's mind blowing, mind blowing, but I can understand at the same time. In South Africa, we have these people called the Bushmen. Have you ever heard of the Kalahari? And have been studies. There's been lots of studies about them where they use their like intuition. They believe that they can communicate through their heart spaces. So one part of the tribe will go hunting, and another one will stay back home around the fire or whatever, and they will intuitively know if they've caught something, if they must get the area prepped to prepare the meat or the catch or whatever. And they've been known to say that they feel it inside themselves. So that is like, it's like this telepathic connection that we have with people that we are emotionally connected to. And that's the same sort of thing with mediumship. We have that with our loved ones in the afterlife. So that's why people can sense them sometimes, or they can pick up signs from them, or they can have visitations in their dreams, or yeah.
You kind of think it's like predictability, right? Like, for example, with me and Jamie, we'll like finish each other's sentences. I know exactly how he's feeling or thinking, even if he's away abroad doing an event, I'm like, I know how because I know him. But is that just intuition? Is that like communication, or is that just like pattern behavior kind of predictability?
That's a difficult one to check, but I think it's your emotions are you connected in some way. So yeah, I don't know, but you guys will have to figure that out. But I think maybe it's a little bit of both. You know, maybe you've gotten to know each other on such a deep level, but also it's you can feel each other's energy. You can sense each other.
But also like with strangers, I've had it where it's like you just meet someone, like particularly face to face, I find it. And I don't know, there's something like they're very open, or like we're so synced, and you're like, how have we not been friends? But I feel like I've known you forever.
Yeah, I get that.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That is, we all so connected. And then if you want to take it up a little bit of a level in the spirituality way of thinking, like we don't meet people by accident. Sometimes we have these purposeful, intentional connections that I mean, like me meeting my group of friends now in a different country that I feel like I've known them for ages, and we just so synced in our ways of thinking. So I think there's also these chance encounters where our souls have like, had these pacts to come together. You call it like a soul family or something like that. So I think about that very often. So yeah.
And can you have these connections online? So for example, like we mentioned face to face, but can you have these soul connections, these intuitive kind of connections on Zoom, or like when you watch a TikTok of someone?
I'm not sure about TikTok. I'm not even on TikTok, but I know that I do all my readings online and I can sense energy. Like if I meet someone, that is why we're sitting here today. You know what I mean? We met on LinkedIn. So I think you can have these sort of connections. People do distance healing, energy healing, like Reiki at far distances across the world. Quantum physics shows us how connected everything is really. So I think you really can tap into energy fields online, wherever.
I was going to ask, because this applies to a lot of things, not just like we do the podcast vetting by having like the video calls and stuff, but also on Zoom when we message people and stuff. I can kind of, maybe the recruiter in me or my intuition, I can feel the energy of like how someone portrays themselves or illustrates their story. I can kind of tell. But also for like job applications, right? If someone's putting themselves out there and interviewing, I was wondering about the kind of Zoom call relationship, or even remote workers.
Yeah.
Like, does energy pass through the screen kind of thing?
I think it definitely does. Energy like doesn't need time or space or anything like that. But I think there's been something big to be said about still in-person events or connections and stuff like that. So yeah, but I think you can do a lot of psychic work. I mean, I do all my readings online, so I know that it's worked for me. So
yeah, and that makes sense as well. Like you mentioned events, when you meet different people and like your energy levels, I think, right? Because it is quite energy consuming. You meet someone you vibe with, and then you meet someone who's like not a rotten apple, but like someone who's just like draining it maybe. And then another person who energizes it. I had it the other day. I went to an event with 130 people and I was like, what is happening? And the next day I was exhausted because I was like, oh my gosh.
That might be the alcohol you drank.
No. It was also like, we have big news. Avery is now an official sponsor of the podcast. You know, I don't just partner with anyone. We've been quite picky because if we're working with someone, it means they genuinely align with what we believe in too. And that's why I'm really, really, really excited to introduce you to our long-term podcast sponsor, Avery. Let me be clear first. Avery is not another clunky ATS. In fact, it's the complete opposite. It's the AI-powered upgrade that hiring teams have been waiting for forever. I've been in recruitment for a decade, and honestly speaking, the process has barely evolved. CVs go into black holes and automatic rejections occur. Disjointed hiring systems. There's a tool for CVs, another one for interviews, another one for sourcing. I mean, come on. Avery fixes all of that. Instead of juggling multiple tools, Avery integrates with existing ATSs and brings your hiring workflow into one place. Avery uses AI to generate role descriptions in real time, complete with salary benchmarks and live candidate availability data. Avery finds the best fit candidates across all the platforms, yes, including LinkedIn, Indeed, and even your own database of past applicants. And lastly, resurrecting lost candidates. Remember that great candidate from 6 months ago who got lost in the system? Avery doesn't forget. It puts the right people back in front of you effortlessly. And this isn't just a huge win for recruiters. Candidates win too. Want to get a taste for this yourself? Get 5% off using the link below. And a huge thank you to Avery for helping us take realistic happiness to the next level, including our new studio space here. Sneak peek. This couldn't have happened without their help. Yeah, it's really crazy. It's
I
really,
think
really
energy is
crazy.
contagious. I think it's, it's contagious. So it depends. If you go to a room where there's, I don't know, a few people that are tapping into their spirit. When I just came back from India and I stayed in an ashram for 2 weeks, and to sit there and meditate with people that have these pure intentions in their hearts and or just have this devotion to their spirituality and their connection, that energy in that room is palpable. You can feel it. You feel like, I don't know, like you can just reach higher realms. You can drop into bliss state so easily when there's so much of that in the same room. So I think that's also really, really interesting and important.
It sounds like an incredible experience.
Mm.
Wow. What made you go to India? Because of course they have a history of spirituality and opening themselves up.
Yeah, I guess I read the book Eat, Pray, Love, and it was one of the parts you go to an ashram. I was always so curious about it, and then now that I've gotten a little bit more spiritual, I studied with Jay Shetty, and he lived as a monk for a while. I really got interested in the history of meditating, how the ancient texts speak about it. So yeah, that's really what got me to go there, and it just happened. I have a friend that is a little bit of a mentor to me. He's a retired eye surgeon, and he told me that he went to this ashram, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I've always wanted to go to an ashram. So this is how whimsical I am, booked the trip to the ashram and then did research afterwards. And it landed up being in the north of India, Rishikesh, which is the yoga capital of the world. And one of the women that a siddhi or a one of the gurus, if you want to call it, that runs the ashram she has her PhD in psychology. So yes, they're using the ancient Hindu text, but then she's also bringing this westernized way, so it makes it a little bit more understandable. So it was such an experience that I think was meant to fall on my path,
Mm.
because yeah, it was incredible to see people living their lives in such devotion. Don't have any money, don't have any physical possessions, but they are the happiest people I have ever come across. So it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, that's it. It's how you portray life as well, like your mindset, right? And like the blueprint of your life, you decided to book that trip,
Yeah.
research it, and then go. And now I guess you also like your vibrational frequency. You were at that level where you're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to meet like-minded people or people like 3 steps above
Mm-hmm.
and learn from them. And I feel like that's something really important to address because like moving country, like you've done it as well, and meeting new people and stuff, you kind of realize like who are the energy suckers and who are the energy
Mm-hmm.
givers. And you want to be around those people that kind of like give you energy, but also like you appreciate each other and you understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that's also what's really tough in life, kind of like that shedding of like, you don't really have to stay friends with your old friendship group if you're growing, listening to intuition, developing. You need to always surround yourself with, yeah, high frequency, is it? High vibration
Yeah, if you want to call it that.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And as we get older, maybe people find that it's a little bit more difficult, or when you have a spiritual awakening or you change all of a sudden and want to become more interested in spirituality, it can be kind of a lonely experience. So it's very important for you to seek those people that are like-minded, that can broaden your perspective, that have different experiences to you, that maybe are able to change your mindset a little bit, or teach you something, a better way or something like that. So yeah, that's very, very, very important. So yeah.
So you mentioned about the auras, about the, what is this called? The cloud?
Yes, your
Around, what is it?
energetical, your own arc cloud of information, energetical data that lives around you.
Tell us. So it sounds like it's like a constellation. I can imagine it like a galaxy around
Yeah.
people, which sounds really sexy. It sounds exciting. But what does that look like to psychics or to you?
So it depends if the psychic can physically see energy. Some people do have the ability where they can see the colors and that sort of thing. But for me, it's just this, I imagine it like this art cloud of energetical data that you are giving off through your emotions, your thoughts, your experiences, your physical state as well.
Oh,
So yeah, so that's what it is. And it's always changing, always moving, because everything is constant. So yeah, that's that's how I see it or perceive it as. I think scientists call it the biofield, something like that. So,
And how do you receive the information then? Because I understand the colors. I've seen it once. I don't know if it was a TikTok edit, but I could see like a warm yellow around this person. And she was like really getting into it. And everyone in the comments was like, I can see your aura. And I was like, oh, I thought it was just my eyes like crossing or going crazy. So I was like, oh my God, people have auras.
yeah.
But there's like different shades, aren't there? Like indigo, purple, yellow, and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so I mean, aura capturing is what they're doing is they're just reading the subtle energies on your hand. They're using biofeedback technology. There's an algorithm that takes all of that and projects it into like a visual imagery of colors. And what they've done is they've assigned different colors to different meanings, because as humans, we need something that we can see with the eye. You know what I mean? We want to understand it that way. So they've given general meanings to the colors, which are very associated with the chakra system. But it's good to also feel into what colors mean to you, because if I had to ask you, what does green mean to you? What color? What is that? What feelings does green give to you? Some people say, well, it's the heart chakra. Some people will say it's growth and healing. Some people will say dark green is money. You know what I mean? So it's all these different things. So it's not, don't get too fixated on the colors, but when we look at the aura, we can see the colors and the general meaning that they give, but then also you will use your psychic senses. And when you're doing an aura reading, you will see what words, images, sounds, feelings that you receive with inside yourself as well. So that's how you perceive auras as well.
Can we do like, could I look into my own aura and be like, am I don't know, can I do like, not a reading on myself, but could I understand myself a bit more? Like my own chakras and spiritual energy?
Of course. So the chakras are just given like a meaning. So for instance, if you are very, how can I say this, very very guarded, you don't want to you don't believe people will like you easily or that sort of thing, then it's, you look into your heart and you can feel into these things. So very often if you're having a sensation or not a block, room for growth or something like that, you can associate it to a different chakra. Like some people always feel unsupported or financially nervous all the time, or stability, no matter. And sometimes it doesn't even matter how much money's in the bank. They can be super wealthy, but that nervousness that it's going to run out of them, then that would be associated with your root chakra. That's the grounding to earth. You know what I mean? So that's the sort of way I think about it. So think about the obstacles or the rooms for growth that you have, what you want to experience, and then you can link it back to what chakra in your energetical system maybe needs some work.
So would something like, personally speaking, control is something that pops up a lot in my life. Even when I go on a plane, I'm like, I don't trust the pilot, like I don't trust the weather, like, and it's so stupid, and it's everything in my life. So is that the root chakra then, like the stabilizing?
It does. It sounds a little bit of fear. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Fear. Yeah. Definitely roots. I mean, that could be a few. That could also be your own intuition or your third eye or whatever. This sounds like there's a few going on there. So we'd have to
A few.
It's quite complex.
Oh.
We'll have to look at that a little bit closer. But yeah, that does sound a little bit of a fear-based thinking.
Okay.
Worst case scenarioing maybe.
Yes. But when I let go and I just trust that neutral voice in my head, and I'm like, okay, it makes no sense, but fuck it, I'm gonna do it. It's never not played out well. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, it regains that trust, but it doesn't make logical sense to follow your intuition. It just sounds really out there, far-fetched. And even when you kind of tell your family or friends about it, like, oh, I'm going to pursue this, or like they just think like, you shouldn't. Why? Like always like, so then that's like confirmation again, like, oh, I shouldn't listen to my intuition, right?
Yeah, I can see that, but yeah, we need to get over that. Our lives are here for us to experience and to create and to co-create, and we are the most powerful force in our own lives. So we need to, self-confidence in our own decisions, trust our own intuition, and there is no wrong or right choices in life. You know what I mean? They're all gonna either teach you something or help you grow or take you forward towards that future that you want to experience. So let's see what happens.
I'm also thinking as well when like really bad things happen in your life, because I do believe things are lessons. But sometimes the lessons are really harsh. Like I'm thinking of
Mm-hmm.
the LA fires and people are losing their homes and everything that they've built up. I'm thinking of my stepdad committing suicide. I'm thinking of my friend that passed away in November just because it was a Saturday night and he's having fun and he was heading home. There's just like really crazy things that happen in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's comforting thinking like, okay, maybe it's a lesson, but it can be really hard, like your father as well, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
traumatizing, it's
Yeah.
hard. How do you like energetically or like how do you even go across that?
Yeah, I think for me, I've just become comfortable with not knowing that answer or not knowing everything because, yeah, it's easy to say, in the self-development world, what is this teaching me about my life? But when I'm sitting doing a reading and there's a child that's passed away and I'm sitting in front of her mother, that is heart-wrenching. And I don't have that answer because as an empathetic human, like it sometimes crushes you to see what's going on in the world. So I don't know, to be honest, and I'm happy to and comfortable to say that I don't have those answers. But all we can do is show kindness and love to everyone that is going through that experience and not judge them for what they're going through. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the power of unity, community, communication, telling people that like you're going through something and you're struggling and opening up, right? Opening up
Mm.
your energetic field and being like, I'm willing, I'm receptive to whatever you suggest or how you help me.
Hmm.
It's like a group energy effort.
I love it. In South Africa, we call that Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. It means unity. We are one. I am me because of you, and you are you because of me. So it's like we are one.
Even if we were strangers.
Yeah, of course. There's nothing like when I got to the UK, I'll never forget, like going onto the tube and stuff and not speaking to people. I'm like, hi. It's not something that the English people do. And, walking into a room and greeting everyone. Like it's a normal thing in Africa, walking down the street and just like having a little chat with everyone. So yeah, even if you're a stranger, Africans are going to speak to you, man.
Yeah. And that the fact you also completely changed your life. Like, I mean,
Mm.
in Africa you have Ubuntu. It sounds like you're kind of all kind of energetically tapped in. And then you moved to the UK, which I feel like as a person who left 7 years ago and like kind of frequently visits, people are very closed off. I wonder if that was like your journey, your soul path to help
Mm.
people there.
That's a good point. Maybe you're psychic. I don't know, but yeah, my grandmother was English, so I wanted to see what another part of the world was like, and everywhere's got their pros and cons. England has got so many resources, so many opportunities, so many things. So I hope I can help a few more people come out of their shell and talk to me on the tube. Maybe it'll be a different experience for
The UK really needs it.
them.
Like people are just,
So lonely.
yeah, but busy, lonely,
Stressed.
stressed.
Stress, the most resource place that I've ever experienced, and people are so stressed out. I mean, I ran a soup kitchen in South Africa for kids that had no running water, electricity, and so happy and so excited about life. And I'm not saying there's right or wrong way to live your life, but I wish people could just tap into a little bit more of appreciation what they really do have in front of them. And it's okay to share. There's no competition. There's no the person that dies with the most physical objects is not going to win any prize. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So yeah, I hope that's part of my path.
yeah. And it's so much more fulfilling. Like
Mm.
you're not attaching yourself to outcomes, to material things, to success. You're tapping into what you already have and you're grateful. So it's like your neutral ground, the root chakra, I think, is joyful. It's content and anything
It's
more,
peace.
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 And anything more is just extra.
Exactly.
It's
Love it.
bonus.
Love it.
So tell us more as well about because you've co-partnered with someone doing this very thing, the
Mm.
aura, the energy thing, right? It's really cool.
It is really cool because it's a way, I want people to understand that there's also energetical health. There's a way to understand your energy body as well. So I've got a business partner that's got a PhD in neuroscience. So he helps me with the scientific stuff. And I'm there to make the unseen a little bit more seen, to help people self-reflect on their energetical body, how they experience life, what they're sensing, how to control their energy and their vibration. Because if you're wanting to manifest and you want to create positivity in your life, then you're going to have to take your frequency up. If you're wanting to, for me, very often when people are spiritual, we love to run around in these higher realms, in the imagination and the fantasies and the blissful feelings, then it's sometimes difficult for us to ground ourselves, the physical world, adulting, I call it, doing taxes.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, your central nervous system's firing, then you need to learn to bring that energy down. Then you need to be able to bring yourself to the present moment, to feel that inner peace, that security, that safety that's within inside of us all. So yeah, that's what I want to do, is help people to understand their energy, the frequency, how to work with it, and self-reflect on the colors that are coming up in your life and what they mean and that sort of thing. So it's a self-reflection tool. But it's just fun, man, to have this picture and understand the colors that are around you and what you mean. So we've only done 2 or 3 small little events so far, but they've been really popular, and people have asked us some really, really interesting questions. So it's a learning experience. And yeah, I'm really excited to do a lot more of it this year.
And how do you get the picture then? Is it on your phone or printed, or how does it work?
So we've got a little printer, so we'll print a photo for you to take away. But then my business partner is a incredible coder and stuff, so he's written a program that it actually gives you a report as well, so that you can take the report home and you can reflect on it, you can understand it, you can read through it and that sort of thing. And I loved it because when I started the psychic work, I actually went to have my aura read, and then I tested it because, yes, I'm a psychic medium, but I've still got a very analytical mind. So what I did was I looked at the chakras that were potentially showing a low frequency, and I went and worked on them for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, I meditated, I used some like beautiful like oils and that sort of thing. I did those and then I went to have them checked again, and they had changed. So I was like, oh my goodness, this stuff really works. So yeah, it's just a way to help people to tap into that energy body and get all those chakras back in balance and understand how they work for you.
I love that it has like a scientific, evidence-based as well, because yeah, people can be a bit skeptical about it, but the fact you've got like both sides of it, like you're bringing it, the spirituality like in the Western kind of present world, and then you've got the scientific element of it as well. And I love what you mentioned as well, the fact that when you worked on yourself, it changed so quickly. So it just also, again, proof that if you put in the work and you're willing to like nurture and listen to yourself, it will come back twofold. But you have to also maintain it. It wasn't just like you did it once and you're like, I have good chakras. Yeah. I have good energy. I'm done.
They like the chakra is a filter. It's an energy filter. It's known as a wheel. The chakra means wheel, and they're always spinning. So you need to make sure that they, or not make sure, but it's good to show their balance and they're working correctly. So it is continuous work. So it's energy work that you can do through your meditation and stuff. But yeah, it is continuous work, like anything else in the inner self-development space.
I feel like you're doing good in the world, Tammi.
You are
bringing these things into also LinkedIn. I love that you're just like sharing the knowledge on there, which is people that are a bit more professional, skeptical. They want logical hacks, tips, 15 seconds on how to build $1 million business. And you're just kind of, breaking LinkedIn in a good way, sharing your knowledge and expertise. I see that it's gaining traction as well. So thank you so much for also like building the company and raising awareness as well. Is there something we haven't touched on that's really important, like that you would like to address, whether it's like something that's trending or something you've discovered recently?
I guess maybe just the myth that psychic and mediumship is only for a elite few. Like, I'm actually living proof because it only started happening to me in my late 30s. So this is available to anyone. So if there's anyone that has a past of a loved one that has left the physical realms, that would like to know that they're okay, or that they're around, or that is in the deep grief cycle, that these are all these abilities, this way of communicating is available to everyone. And yeah, I just want to bring some comfort to people experiencing that, because grief can be rough. I think losing someone that you love is one of the hardest challenges in the human experience. So I really hope that anyone listening to that is going through that knows that's available to them, that they don't need a medium to communicate with their past of a loved ones, that they can do it themselves if they open their mind, if they open their heart. So yeah, I'd love to bring that to LinkedIn. It feels a little bit bold and out of the norm, but this is the way I'm being shown to go. So I'm packing my bags, I'm going.
Yeah. What is it? The spiritual closet.
Yes, I'm out of the spirit. I'm out now.
I think it's important because Yeah, like you were saying, like we're energy, and especially if you've got a close bond, whether it's your parent, your child, your spouse, and then you they just get removed out of your life. That's heart-wrenching. That's horrendous. And where does that energy go? And you feel lost, and you're like, who am I without them? So it is really comforting, sorry, knowing that the energy is here. Someone's able to tap into it. You're able to, yeah, kind of communicate with them in some way. It's really reassuring.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, it's one of the most difficult, but the most rewarding thing I have ever attempted, and wanting to grow and stuff like that. So yeah, I really hope it can just help people understand that there are ways around, feel some comfort, and let people know that they can do it themselves, and that it's not woo woo. Or some people think it's woo woo until the world takes them to their knees
Mm.
and they experience it. Then they search for the answer, and that's okay, because everyone has to go through their life experience as they need to, and how it's set up for them. But yeah, I hope that it finds the right people that really need it. So yeah.
And it will. And we're going to leave the last question to chance.
Woo! I love it.
I know what they say, if I can get them out. But you don't. And you're going to pick your question. There's a lot of cards. Let me just shuffle.
They're pretty as well. They've got like an aura on them.
Do they?
Yeah,
What
well, if
aura?
you look at the...
Oh, yeah, spark.
They're reflective.
They're reflective. No?
Oh, in the back. Oh, I didn't even know that. They have an aura. I love it. So you can pick your last question. Let your intuition guide you, and you can read it and then answer it.
Which person from the past year had the most significant influence on you, and why? The first person that comes to my awareness is my retired eye surgeon friend that I've actually met him on LinkedIn as well. And, he's given me so much insight into the Hindu way of life, and spirituality is normal to them since they were little. And him being a medical doctor has shown me that it's okay to take this to maybe the more skeptical people, the people that need everything quantified. So he has given me a peace inside of myself. He's provided me with so much evidence, and he's just a joyful man to learn from, speak to when I'm having a little bit of the wobbles and things. So yeah.
Yeah, it's important to have those people in your life. And you
100%.
met him recently, right?
On LinkedIn. So it's incredible.
And we recently discovered, because we like to eat Indian food, what guru actually means. It was, I think, is it Sanskrit and then Hindi, that it's gu and ru, and it's essentially when you bring someone into the light from the darkness.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
Awesome.
Goosebumps. Gu and ru, like darkness and light. So you provide light to the darkness.
Crazy. But now guru is like, oh, they teach you, they stand on the stage, they know everything.
No, and everyone's got their own guru inside of themselves. I think of my intuition as that guru. So yeah.
What a beautiful way to end this episode, Tammi. This was brilliant. And what a cool question that you picked at the end. Very fitting. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about the things that, are sometimes behind the scenes on such a professional platform. I'm so, so grateful, and thank you.